Awaken your supernatural power. 7 days to divine manifestation through prophetic observation. In the heart of a village nestled within the rolling hills of England, Claire's spirit was painted in vibrant faith, a canvas witnessing every wondrous story of divine miracles told during the cold winter nights. Legends of healing, hope, and heavenly whispers echoed through the stone walls of the historical chapel, where her hands often clasped in fervent prayer. Yet beneath this radiant exterior lay a heart burdened by doubt. Could her prayers wield true power? One crisp evening, as shadows lengthened and the air turned sharp, a chilling cry shattered the peace. Her son Eli lay pale and trembling. He was mere 7, yet carried the weight of her world. Doctors, with their furrowed brows and hurried words, spun tales of dread that clawed at Claire's heart. Desperation gripped her. She feared the loss of her only child. In this dark moment, a flicker of light emerged. An elderly priest known for miraculous healings came forth. "Look for signs of hope," he urged gently, his eyes glinting with an ancient wisdom that called to Claire's heart. "Dive into the stories of our village. Observe the divine in the mundane." And so, equipped with her devotion, Claire ventured into the winding lanes, her heart racing with each step. All around her, life unfolded like a tapestry of raw experiences. She encountered Mary, whose husband had returned from the brink of death, his presence now a testament to prayer's strength. Claire felt the electric spark of divine reassurance. Next, she listened to young Thomas, who had wandered lost for days and was miraculously guided home by a strange figure that shone like the dawn. Each narrative anchored her spirit, weaving threads of belief around her battered heart. Yet doubt gnawed at the edges of her mind. What if the villagers whispered behind her back? What if her faith faltered before them? Just when despair threatened to reclaim her, an audacious vision broke through. In the darkest corners of her mind, she could see it, a gathering of souls united in prayer, voices rising like a chorus piercing the winter chill. A wave of resolve surged within her. She summoned every villager, inviting them to a night of prayer for Eli's healing. The chapel, once familiar, now brimmed with shimmering anticipation. Lanterns flickered to life, casting a warm glow on the faces of believers who filled the wooden pews. The air thrummed with expectation as scriptures were recited and hymns danced on hopeful breaths. Yet as Claire stood before them, fears crept back in. What if her prayers fell upon deaf ears? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. As Claire's words flowed, a sudden gust of wind swept through the chapel, extinguishing the lanterns in an instant. A silence enveloped the room. Claire could feel every heartbeat, every breath caught in anticipatory stillness. Then warmth spread through the spaces, an inexplicable comfort that echoed hope. Was it a sign? The villagers held their breath, eyes wide with dawning realization, a moment that could turn despair into divinity. Laden with doubt, yet buoyed by flickering hope, Claire stood on the threshold of faith. Would this collective devotion awaken the miraculous power they'd forgotten? Or would her fears consume her whisper of belief, ensuring that Eli's spirit remained shrouded in uncertainty? The question hung in the air, heavy and sacred, a promise and a mystery waiting to unfold. The hushed atmosphere within the chapel deepened, each heartbeat a reminder that something sacred was unfolding. Claire clutched the lectern, her palms slick against the wood, her heart racing like a drum in the stillness. Those eyes upon her, a tapestry of hope and fear, held her tethered, but doubt whispered insidiously in her ear. The world outside had fallen away, the cold of the night swaddled in the warmth of shared faith. Claire took a deep breath, gathering her courage. "Dear friends," she began, her voice a trembling thread, "we come together tonight not just as individuals, but as a family bound by our love for Eli and our shared faith in a God who heals." As she spoke, the wind returned, caressing the congregation like an unseen presence. Each flicker of the extinguished lanterns danced in her mind's eye, a mirror of her flickering hope. It was a reminder of the forgotten promise of miracles. "Let us pray," Claire beckoned, feeling the charge in the air ignite the room. Kneeling, she shut her eyes tight, squeezing the doubt from her heart as she poured out her spirit to the heavens. Every prayer born of desperation became an echo of faith, swirling around like a fragrant offering. The villagers joined her, their voices lifting into a melody of hope, a chorus that shimmered with unity. Suddenly, an unexpected warmth wrapped around her shoulders, as if divine arms encircled her in love. Goosebumps peppered her skin, and within that moment, Claire understood. She was not alone. God was listening, not just to her, but to all gathered to intercede for Eli. A hushed murmur spread through the chapel. Those who had long wrestled with their own doubts felt an unfamiliar stirring. Glances exchanged, eyes glinting with tears. A collective realization dawned. This was not merely a plea for healing, but a declaration of faith that would ripple through the heavens. Then a clear voice broke through, a voice she recognized as Mary's, raised in fervent declaration of God's greatness. "We believe in a God of miracles. We declare healing in Eli's name." Fervor surged through the group like an electric current, pulling every member deeper into the embrace of truth. Claire's heart soared. What began as her struggle felt now like a wildfire, fueled by others' faith. In that moment, she realized the power of community. Together they stood, an army of believers, ready to confront darkness with the light of their faith. With every word offered in prayer, Claire's concerns began to feel lighter, like a weight had been lifted. Assurance filled the space, and even her fears stuttered beneath the might of collective devotion. But just as the atmosphere swelled with joy, a sudden silence fell again. It was a holy moment, a breath held collectively, anticipating. In the stillness, Claire felt it, the promise of the divine. This was more than a mere gathering, it was communion with the sacred. But the question shimmered in the air. Had they tapped into the very heart of God's intention? Would Eli's healing emerge from this flow of faith they had spun together? The anticipation thickened, wrapping around them tightly, a cocoon of hope and prayer. As they waited, eyes closed and hearts open, what awaited them on the other side of such unwavering faith? Just then, a soft glow began to flicker in the corner of the chapel, flickering like a heartbeat. What would the light reveal? The flickering light grew stronger, bathing the chapel in a warm, golden hue. Eyes that had been closed in prayer slowly began to flutter open, drawn to the source of illumination. Faces turned in unison, curiosity mingling with hope as the glow filled the room, shifting from corner to center like a beacon of divine promise. Claire felt her breath catch in her throat. It was as if the air itself held its breath alongside them, heavy with anticipation. The light began to swirl, taking on a vibrant life of its own. Silvery tendrils stretched between the villagers, weaving their faith together in an intricate tapestry of belief. Then, as if responding to their collective faith, a shadowy figure emerged from the glow. The villagers gasped in unison, a sound that rang forth, echoing against the chapel walls. It held an ethereal presence, radiant yet gentle, as if crafted from the very light they beheld. Recognizing the figure as a messenger of God filled their hearts with reverence. This was more than just spectacle. This was an invitation. "Do not be afraid." The voice was rich and comforting, enveloping Claire like a warm embrace. "Your prayers have risen as incense before the throne of the Most High. Behold, what you believed has wings." Claire's heart soared once again. She could feel each heartbeat resonate in the presence of the divine. The villagers listened, a hushed wonder filling the air as they leaned into the moment. The warmth of the light seeped into their souls, stirring something deep within. It was not just Eli they were praying for anymore. It was all of them, caught in the web of faith and healing. "Your petitions for Eli have been heard," the figure continued, radiant eyes scanning the congregation with love. "But now your call for deeper faith shall also be answered. Each of you holds a piece of my light. It is time to awaken that divine potential within you." The words danced around them, enveloping the chapel in a heavenly purpose. Claire glanced at Mary, who was now openly weeping with joy, her hands clasped in reverence. Others, too, were visibly moved. Hearts that had once wavered began to pulse with a newfound vigor. "What does this mean?" Claire whispered, half to herself, half in silent question to the heavens. "Embrace your own faith," the figure urged, a smile growing on its lips. "Let it bloom. Each prayer you utter, every ounce of sincerity you bring forth, is a thread in the fabric of your community's spirit. Together you will rise." With these words, the light brightened further, illuminating every face, every heart, and each resident spirit. It was as though layers of doubt were being peeled away, revealing the vibrant life they carried within. The essence of courage kindled where fear once resided. In that sacred moment, hope transformed into something that could almost be touched. The air crackled with expectation, promises that felt within reach. Claire could see the flickers of renewed faith in the eyes of the villagers. As they stood in this divine embrace, it became clear they were on the precipice of something much greater than mere healing for Eli. What actions would their awakened faith command? And just as that thought ignited within Claire, the glow began to pulsate in rhythm with their hearts, vibrant and alive. This was only the beginning, but where would it lead them next? The door of possibility swung wide open, inviting them to step through into the unknown. What if the next prayer they offered would challenge every notion of what healing and community could truly mean? A holy hush filled the chapel, each soul present caught in the rapture of the moment. The glow around the figure pulsated like a heartbeat, a silent reminder of the promise that lay within reach. Claire felt her heart swell as the warmth of a divine presence enveloped her, but uncertainty still danced in her mind. How could they, mere villagers, harness this power the figure spoke of? "Begin with love," the figure encouraged, reading the thoughts that flickered across her face. "Love is the cornerstone of your strength. Let your hearts move in unity, and your prayers shall take flight like arrows of hope." As the figure spoke, Claire caught glimpses of the others, faces radiant with joy, eyes shimmering with newfound resolve. They were awakening, each person a beacon of courage illuminating the shadows of doubt. An idea sparked within her. "We should gather our intentions," Claire proposed, her voice steady. "We can form prayer circles, share our fears and dreams. Together, we can weave a tapestry of belief that spreads beyond these walls. Mary nodded fervently, her previously teary eyes now shining with determination. Yes, if we come together, we can pool our faith. The more we share, the stronger our prayers will be. With a flurry of whispers amongst the villagers, the momentum grew. Claire could feel the energy shifting, hearts linking in a shared mission. It became clear this was not simply about Eli's healing, it was about the awakening of their collective spirit. Seek the intentions that lie deep within your hearts, the figure commanded gently, the love in its voice wrapping around them like a warm blanket. Listen to what God whispers into your souls. It shall guide you. Claire closed her eyes, tuning in to the gentle stirrings within. Images swirled, prayers formed, and hopes blossomed in her heart. She saw not just Eli's recovery, she envisioned a flourishing community built on faith, miracles, and divine transformation. Across the chapel, others found their voices too. One by one, they began to speak out, sharing their burdens and dreams. A teenager, his voice quivering, spoke of wanting to go to college. I pray for wisdom and guidance. A mother shared her longing for peace following loss. Let my heart find solace in his embrace. Each prayer wove into the air, floating towards the figure as silvery strands of light. The figure nodded knowingly, its presence a still waters in the storm of their hopes. You see, every thread matters. Each prayer knits you closer to the heart of God. Now, let us pray together. As hands were joined, a powerful ripple flowed through the gathering. Claire felt the crackling energy surge between them, a divine connection binding their spirits. Words poured forth, a chorus of supplication and yearning, rising in unison to meet the heavens. The air thickened, an electric pulse sparking with potential. Claire opened her eyes, now set ablaze with passion and unity. This is just the beginning, she whispered, her heart racing with excitement. But the figure's gaze turned serious. Guard your hearts against doubt, for it is the thief of miracles. What lies ahead will test your resolve. Do not lose sight of your faith. The sincerity of its warning struck a chord deep within Claire. She knew the journey would not be easy. Challenges often veiled the path to divine revelation. With a renewed commitment, Claire nodded. We won't let fear hold us back. Together, we'll face whatever comes. We will step forward into the light. A collective murmur of affirmation blended with gasps of awe as the light began to intensify, swirling towards a singularity of divine presence. It beckoned them forward, a doorway to unforeseen miracles. Yet even as they stood ready to embrace the unfolding journey, a question lingered. What challenges awaited them, and would their faith be enough to carry them through to the divine manifestation they hoped for? The light enveloped the chapel, brighter than 1,000 suns. Hearts quickened, and an electric air hummed with possibility. Claire took a deep breath, drawing strength from the unity surrounding her. This wasn't just a gathering. It felt like a sacred moment in time, a very touch of sunshine. Heaven woven through their shared hopes and dreams. Let us be the vessels of his love, Claire declared, her voice rising above the soft murmur of prayerful intentions. Each of us holds a piece of the promise he has laid before us. We must believe and we must act. Her words rang out with conviction, and a wave of enthusiasm surged through the villagers. As they stood together, Claire looked into the faces around her. Hope and resolve shone brightly in their eyes. A feeling of inevitability filled the air, an assurance that they were on the precipice of something transformative. They were no longer just villagers. Together, they were a family of faith, ready to seek divine intervention. Let's pray for Eli, Mary prompted with warmth. The group, renewed with energy, formed a circle, intertwining fingers as if to physically connect their spirits. With every gaze locked, the village now became a bastion of strength. "Lord," Claire began, her voice steady and sure, "we come before you with open hearts. Heal Eli, and in doing so, heal us all." A chorus of "Amen" washed over her, echoing through the chapel, as if the very walls sang in agreement. The figure remained present, a pillar of serenity amid the rising tides of emotion. Its gaze was steady, and Claire sensed the intentionality behind the silent wisdom. "With every prayer you utter, the fabric of reality shifts," it said gently. "Your faith ignites the flame of possibility. But remember, with strength comes challenge." Claire felt a shiver down her spine. Would the challenges truly be formidable? She squeezed Mary's hand tighter, a silent promise of unity in whatever trials lay ahead. Just then, a gust of wind fluttered through the chapel. It carried whispers, an urgent sense of something on the horizon. The atmosphere became charged with anticipation. The villagers stood alert, as if sensing the approach of spiritual warfare. They understood that this journey would not be without obstacles. "Fear not," the figure reassured them, its voice a soothing balm. "For every moment of doubt will only serve to accentuate your strength. Remember, faith is like a seed. It must be nourished and steadfast to blossom even in the harshest storms." Suddenly, Claire's vision began to sharpen, revealing a deeper layer of the gathering. She saw colors swirling around each person. Each hue represented their unique struggles and hopes. A tapestry visualized against the chapel walls, one that illustrated the intricate journey they were all on together. "Look closely," the figure urged softly. "In every thread of this tapestry lies a revelation. Seek it, and you will discover your gifts." The villagers leaned in closer, attention locked on the vibrant display. Claire closed her eyes again, feeling the pulse of connection growing stronger. Each breath she took intertwined with their shared intentions. God had heard their prayers. She felt it in her bones. Then, mingled within the air, something shifted. The questions they feared began to resurface, doubts that loomed like shadows. "What if our prayers aren't heard?" a voice quivered audibly in the back. Another grip of uncertainty seized the group, and Claire's heart raced. They had stepped into the realm of the divine, but would that magic last? Would their faith sustain them through the trials that loomed like storm clouds overhead? "Strengthen thy resolve," the figure proclaimed, its voice resonating with urgency. "For the path ahead is laden with divine mysteries. You will learn, you will grow. The answers you seek lie just beyond the horizon." With those final words, an even brighter light erupted, casting away the shadows of doubt as they stood together, arms raised towards the heavens. Claire felt a tide of reassurance wash over her. But within her heart, a belief kindled. What lies ahead could also lead to a deeper understanding of God's intentions. Still, the uncertainty wrapped around her like a shroud. What kind of trials would test their faith? As she held that thought, a new fog rolled in before her mind's eye. Would they discover their true power, or would fear weave its way back into their hearts? As the brilliant light began to fade, Claire felt her heart quicken. The warmth of the chapel held her like a comforting embrace, yet the whisper of doubt still grazed her spirit like a whispering breeze. They had been promised strength, but what shape would that strength take amidst the challenges yet unseen? The villagers stood in a moment of silence, eyes still wide from the vision they had just shared. Claire opened her eyes, scanning the faces, a mosaic of fear, hope, and confusion. The vibrant color still danced before her mind, each hue a reflection of faith intertwined with deep-seated fears. It was a vivid reminder that each person held a unique story, and in that story lay the shared tapestry of their lives. "What happens next?" Mary whispered, barely louder than the soft rustle of fabric around them. Claire felt the weight of that question resonate within her, echoing from one heart to another. "Next," the figure intoned with depth and assurance, "is the call to seek. The journey has only just begun. The threshold of revelation is upon you." Claire nodded, her heart steadying itself. She turned back to her friends. "We must lean into this together," she urged, her voice a soothing balm. "Our questions and our fears do not diminish us. They are simply part of the path that leads to understanding." A collective amen rose from the group, unwavering and strong. The lingering apprehension slowly dissipated like the morning mist under the sun, replaced by a renewed determination. "Let us take a step forward," Claire suggested. "We will pray not only for Eli's healing tonight, but for clarity in our purpose and strength against the storms that would come." The figure nodded, and Claire sensed approval ripple through the air. The circle tightened, and as they held hands, the vibrations grew stronger, feeding off their shared energies. Claire closed her eyes, allowing the beating of her heart to sync with the others' breaths. "Lord, as we gather in faith, illuminate our path." Claire's voice wavered slightly at the intensity of her plea. "Help us understand the mysteries laid before us and grant us the courage to carry forth your love." The wind picked up again, swirling gently around them, as if God's breath was alive in that very moment. It started soft, then transformed into a symphony of whispers, echoing their shared prayers into the sky. The colors seemed to pulse and swirl with vitality, responding to their combined faith. Suddenly, the figure raised its arm, and the whispers shifted into a distinct message, one that made Claire's chest swell with emotion. "You are not alone. Each of you will uncover your gifts. Each soul will be a beacon of strength. However, recognize this: the world will seek to pull you apart. Stand together." The congregants nodded, understanding the call deep within their cores. Together, they formed a committed bond that nothing could sever. Just then, one of the older villagers, Benjamin, stepped forward. His voice, though trembling, carried the weight of a sage. "What if we falter? What if the darkness is too strong?" Claire looked at him, seeing every wrinkle of worry etched across his face. "Even if darkness encroaches, remember that even the smallest light can pierce through it. We must be the lights in each other's lives. We have to shine." A flicker ignited in Benjamin's eyes, transformed by renewed hope. The energy in the room shifted. The mix of doubts turned into a growing wave of faith. "Let us not wait," Mary chimed in, raising her arms. "Let's praise him for what is yet to unfold." With that, a beautiful melody of voices broke the silence. They sang not only in worship, but as a declaration of unity, their melody rising higher and higher. As the echoes reverberated through the chapel, a thought struck Claire. She suddenly reflected on their collective journey. The trials were inevitable, yes, but what if each trial bore hidden treasures? What if their fears were simply scaffolding, protecting the divine purpose birthed within them? Claire felt a rushing surge of faith swell in her chest. But still, among the melodies of hope, a whisper gnawed at the edges of her mind. What treasures lay within the unknown? Would they be able to uncover the depths of their power when faced against the storm? The questions lingered, leaving Claire with an exhilarating sense of anticipation, ready to step into whatever the sacred unfolding had in store. The moment the last note of their song faded, a sacred silence enveloped the chapel. It felt as if time held its breath, a collective heart pausing in expectant anticipation. Claire opened her eyes and looked around her. The villagers' faces shone with an unfamiliar light, the remnants of fear dissipating like mist before the dawn. In that silence, Claire felt a gentle nudge from within, an urge to share her own doubts and discoveries. "Friends," she began, her voice shaking slightly, "as we face what lies ahead, let us not forget the sacred truths we've just experienced. Our hearts are filled with a promise of strength and clarity." "Yes," Benjamin interrupted, his eyes sparkling with newfound vigor. "Strength is right. Together we are fortified like a mighty fortress. But strength doesn't come without trial." He raised a finger. "What must we do to prepare ourselves for the tempest?" Claire nodded, inspired by his passion. "We must cultivate our gifts. The light inside each of us is a seed. If we nurture it with faith and action, it will blossom." "How do we do this?" "Through prayer, yes, but also through service. We must be ready to stand as a beacon for others." A ripple of murmur surged through the group as people exchanged knowing glances. Mary squeezed Claire's hand, her voice bright and urgent. "Service! We can feed the hungry, comfort the downtrodden. We must actively seek ways to share the light we've been gifted." The figure in the center nodded slowly, transforming into a radiant silhouette that illuminated the space. "Indeed, these acts will not only fortify your bond with each other, but also align you with your divine purpose. When you nurture your inner light, it empowers those around you." Claire held her breath, feeling clarity wash over her. It was a beautiful promise. "But we must remember," she cautioned softly, "these acts will not shield us from trials. In fact, they may invite them. The world tests the light fiercely." The congregation nodded, the weight of her words sinking in. Their dedication was a double-edged sword. A sigh of understanding spread through them, letting an edge of determination cut through lingering doubt. In that moment, the bonds began to feel less like chains and more like vines, anchoring them together in love and purpose. One elder, Miriam, spoke up, her face radiant in the glow. "What if we committed ourselves to a covenant? Each of us takes turns in leading acts of service. Weekly gatherings to share stories of our fears and triumphs, celebrating the light in one another's journeys." Excited agreements filled the air. Claire felt warmth flood her chest. This was what they needed, a structured way to fortify themselves, to reignite that faith anew together. As discussions flourished, the chapel swelled with energy, laughter, and inspiration. Plans unfurled like wings ready for flight, reaching far beyond the simple walls. Each idea sparked confidence in Claire's heart, and she couldn't help but smile. But in the back of her mind, a question lingered. Would they have the strength to truly face the storms? Would they remain united when life tested their resolve? As the chatter continued, Claire's heart raced with anticipation. The whispers of doubt now more like a gentle reminder, reinforcing their collective resolve. Just as she began to voice her lingering worry, a sudden gust of wind swept through the chapel, causing the villagers to pause in stunned silence. The air shimmered, and the figure stood taller, a silhouette infused with divine light. "You will know the power within you," it declared, "but each revelation carries its own trials. Step forward with faith, and you shall see." The chapel resonated once more, hung thick with awe. What awaited them beyond the horizon of their trust? The questions hung unspoken in the air, a bridge to the unfolding path. As Claire held the eyes of her friends, the divine mystery lay tantalizingly ahead. What new wonders awaited when they dared to step out into the unknown? The wind faded, leaving only a gentle hum of expectation that thickened the atmosphere. The villagers remained in their reverie, each heart beating in time with the echoed promise of what was to come. Claire felt a surge of warmth, a glow spreading from her core as she locked eyes with Ben. "Covenants," he murmured, inspired. "Together we step into the unknown, hand in hand. But what if? What if we not only serve, but also witness each other's journeys? We could unveil the gifts God has placed within us." Yes, Claire's heart quickened as she imagined the possibilities. We could create a space to openly share our experiences. It would be a celebration of faith, a true communion. Mary, still holding Claire's hand, spoke up with excitement. "We can invite others to join us on this journey. We'll need their voices. We can grow together, supporting one another as we seek God's truth." The elder, Miriam, offered a knowing smile. "And through our vulnerability, we inspire more than just our own community. We could be a catalyst for change in the wider world." As plans turned into vibrant visions, Claire's spirit soared. Yet still, a voice within reminded her of the road ahead. Could they keep their spirits high when tested? Would they be unwavering when they faced rejection? Then a flicker of light danced before Claire's eyes. The figure, now more than a silhouette, began to take a more defined form. "There will be trials, yes," it intoned, its voice resonant and reassuring. "But those trials are vessels of your strength. They are mirrors reflecting both your fears and your potential." Intrigued and emboldened, the villagers listened intently, their hearts racing with the mystique of divine encouragement. The figure lifted a hand, revealing a small orb of light that flickered with life. "This light is your potential. It longs to shine, to break through the shadows." Claire felt her breath catch. The orb pulsated with vibrant colors, reflecting the unique gifts within each person present. "Our love and service will ignite our lights. Will you embrace this deeper journey?" "Yes," came the unified cry, a swell of passion rising like a mighty tide. Hope flickered in the eyes of each person gathered. Miriam took a step forward, her face bright with fervor. "Let us also write down our hopes for this journey. We'll pin them to the chapel walls. Together, our desires will form a tapestry, reminding us of what we're working for." Claire's gaze swept across the room, seeing everyone nodding in agreement, determination shining in their eyes. There was a spark of unity, a realization that they were not just embarking on a mission for themselves, but transcendentally connected. As they began crafting their hopes, voices mingled with laughter and prayer, the air electric with faith. Claire wrote her hope in bold letters. "We will fearlessly share our gifts, nurturing our spirits and those around us." But just as they completed their first hope, the wind surged again, stronger this time, rushing through the chapel like a mighty river. Everyone turned toward the source, where the figure re-emerged, exalted. "Your journey is only beginning, but are your hearts ready for the sacrifices?" A hush fell over the room as Claire felt the weight of those words. What sacrifices would they need to make? As she scanned her friends, she saw the flickering uncertainty in their joyful faces, the hesitation before stepping deeper into faith. Together, they were gathering courage, yet the question loomed ahead. How would they lean into uncertain journeys? Claire's heart beat louder with each thought. They had stepped forward into this new promise, but now they stood at the edge of profound change. What divine trials lay just beyond the horizon? The figure's glow became almost blinding, wrapping around each villager, inviting them deeper into the promise ahead. Claire felt small yet immensely powerful, as if every fiber of her being resonated with the divine message. She closed her eyes for a moment, allowing the warmth to fill her soul. "What do sacrifices look like?" she whispered to herself, feeling the weight of expectation. The noise of thought swirled around her, each villager processing the challenge in their own unique way. She opened her eyes, catching the gaze of Ben. His brow furrowed, revealing a shared unease. Yet as Claire met his eyes, determination ignited. "Miriam," Claire broke the silence, her voice steady and strong, "what sacrifices have you faced in your journey?" Miriam, her expression a blend of wisdom and vulnerability, stepped forward. "Oh, dear child, sacrifices come in many forms. It may mean stepping away from our comfort zones. It could be letting go of past pain or changing how we spend our time. It's often the hardest things," Mary added, her voice trembling yet resolute, "that cultivate the most profound growth. Sometimes it's even a matter of trusting God when the path seems unclear." The figure nodded approvingly, the orb of light hovering gently in the space between them. "Yes, child of light, sacrifice is an act of faith. It is your willingness to learn, to surrender your own plans for God's ultimate purpose." The villagers drew closer, each reaching out to touch the orb, feeling its energy whirl around them. In that moment, Claire could see flickers of divine wisdom in her friend's eyes. They were not just contemplating individual sacrifices, they were grasping the significance of collective growth. Each villager began sharing their whispered fears, the fear of judgment, the fear of failure, or the fear of being vulnerable. Claire realized that their fears intertwined, weaving a tapestry of shared experience. They were bound together, not just by hope, but by the recognition of their own frailties. "I fear being seen as unworthy," Ben admitted softly, looking around at his friends. "Yes, and I fear that my gifts are too small to make a difference," Claire added, her heart racing. Miriam lifted her hands, gathering their attention once more. "See, friends? Our vulnerabilities allow light to seep through. What if our sacrifices, this willingness to embrace discomfort, open doors for miraculous change, not only in ourselves, but in others?" Suddenly, the air pulsed with vibrant energy, and the orb transformed, casting brilliant hues around the room. Each villager felt the rush of belonging wash over their hearts. Claire's breath quickened as she glimpsed the faint outline of their future, each sacrifice, each act of faith, drawing them closer to a divine purpose. "Now," the figure spoke again, "you must embrace the unknown. You shall declare your intention to share these gifts. With each step, your light becomes brighter until it illuminates a path for others." The atmosphere enveloped them in a shared spirit of bravery and faith. With newfound conviction, each villager began to speak their dreams aloud, declaring them into the vibrancy of their sacred gathering. Claire looked at her hope pinned to the wall. It shimmered, as if responding to their declarations. But then a haunting question echoed within her. Could they truly face the possible rejections and trials that lay ahead? As their joyous declarations filled the room, another wind rose, stirring the orb and swirling their hopes. In this moment, the weight of exhilaration and fear combined, leaving the villagers suspended in a divine mystery. For beyond their declarations and hopes, Claire sensed they were on the brink of transformation. What lay in wait on this journey could alter not only them, but the world around them. Would they gather the courage to rise up against adversity and embrace the luminous path before them? The chapel glowed, resonating with fervent prayers and unyielding hope. Claire felt the presence of something far greater than herself, something divine urging them forward. The air, thick like honey, buzzed with expectancy. A promise flickered within every soul there, ensuring they were ready to face whatever trials came their way. "Let us embrace the light," Claire urged, her voice ringing with conviction. "We are not merely gathering hopes. We are awakening the truth within our hearts. Together, we will shine." With every heart pounding as one, the villagers readied themselves for the path ahead. They formed a circle, hands clasped in unity, a tapestry of devotion stitched with threads of love. "We are here to support each other, not just in our joys, but in our trials too. We will walk this journey together. The figure at the forefront swelled with radiant light, illuminating their faces, instilling courage deep within. Your strength lies in unity, it proclaimed, voice like a soothing balm. A soft wind rose, brushing against them like silk, carrying the weight of sacred promises. Claire's heart raced. They had come so far, weaving their individual stories into a chorus of faith. But what awaited them beyond this moment? Each of you possesses gifts that must be shared with the world. A spark of divinity pulses within you, the figure proclaimed, crystalline eyes gleaming with approval. But to unleash it, sacrifices are essential. You must be willing to let go of doubt, fear, and everything holding you back. As the figure spoke, Claire felt the tender tug of uncertainty. What sacrifices would they need to make? The thought of losing comfort, of stepping into the unknown, gnawed at her stomach. Yet looking around, she met the hopeful gazes of her friends. They would stand together, no matter the storm. What if we face rejection? Benjamin voiced the fear gnawing at him, voice trembling but resolute. What if they don't believe us? What if we fail? The figure smiled, a beacon of reassurance. Opening your hearts invites vulnerability, yes, but in that vulnerability lies your strength. Each step towards your calling opens doors for others too. Embrace the challenges ahead, and you shall flourish. Soul after soul began to share their fears out loud. I worry my voice is too small, young Thomas admitted, glancing toward Claire. She nodded knowingly, her own heart echoing similar concerns. What if my healing journey goes unseen? As they voiced their collective fears, a beautiful realization wove through the circle. Their struggles were no longer solitary. Each burden was a shared weave in their united tapestry. Exactly, Claire cried, the illumination within her intensifying. Let's transform our fears into strength. We won't just be battling our individual dreads. We'll wield them as tools of encouragement for one another. Our light can be a guiding star through storms. And at that moment, the figure nodded in approval. You are beginning to understand. Embrace your vulnerability as the foundation for connection. Reach out, uplift others, and together you shall illuminate the world. A contagious fire ignited as they shifted to focus on the light within. Claire lifted her voice. What if we share our stories? What if we create sacred spaces to celebrate our victories and learn from our challenges? Cheers erupted, nodding heads vibrating with enthusiasm. Plans unfolded like petals blooming, creating a garden of collective faith. Each week we'll meet, share stories, and support each other. Mary chimed in, excitement clear in her voice. And then the wind swirled again, electric and lively. You must not fear the tests ahead, the figure cautioned gently, yet powerfully. Trials will come to test your resolve and determination. Be prepared. Claire felt her heart race, but instead of fear, a profound sense of purpose washed over the gathering. We are ready for whatever comes, she declared, her voice unwavering. We will stand united and press forward. We will speak our truths, foster connections, and build a community of faith that shines brightly in even the darkest night. As dusk fell softly around them, the chapel vibrated with newfound. Each villager sensed a shift, the waves of faith and anticipation reverberating through the atmosphere. Hope glimmered like shimmering stars, lighting the path ahead. Step boldly, the figure commanded, its light pulsing with vibrant life. Your journey has only just begun. Show the world the power of love and unity. What you share, the light you become, shall radiate far beyond these walls. The villagers united their voices, an anthem of courage rising in triumphant harmony. With hearts intertwined, they embraced the unfolding path, ready to shine their light against the shadows. And as they stepped into a future ripe with promise, Claire felt the warmth of faith envelop her. No longer burdened by doubt, she knew together they would traverse the turbulent waters of life. Each challenge a step closer to the beautiful revelations God had in store. With hearts ablaze, they crossed the threshold of the chapel, ready, hopeful, and unwavering in their divine purpose. This was the very moment they had waited for, the moment of manifestation. So, friends, as you journey through your own trials, remember the power within you. Lean into love, forge connections, and shine brightly. Let it manifest in your lives as theirs did, for the world is waiting to see your light. And now, this is your call to action. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories that will kindle your spirit and keep your flame alive. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread the light. It truly makes a difference. Comment below to share your reactions and testimonies about this powerful ending. We want to hear from you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. Only true servants of God understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let's shine together.